Good afternoon, everybody. This is Will Cottrell the second once again, back on my YouTube channel for the first time in a while. And obviously, you guys can see that I've been taking some time away. Wanted to finish college, which I did. Got my degree back in May, like just a few weeks back. So I wanted to take care of that business first. So I just want to appreciate your patience for my subscribers, the few I have, but and then all the other viewers that I've had on my other videos. Just want to thank you for that time, just and patience for me. Obviously, this is a really quick video, just as a raw, edited form. I'm still in the process of rebranding my YouTube channel. I want to move forward with that just as much as I possibly can during this break of summer. And I'm just really eager for what the future has. I have a lot of ideas planned, really just a facelift, whatever you want to call it. And I'm really excited to what's in store for me and what's in store for my fans. And I just wanted to stop in real quick, just to talk about a subject that I saw on Twitter. There's been if you haven't known already, there's been multiple reports today that have surfaced online that said that Terrell Owens won't be available at he won't be in attendance for his Hall of Fame induction this August. Obviously, there's a lot of varying opinions about that. Considering how you feel about Terrell Owens, as all the sports fans know, especially in football fans, he's been considered arguably the most polarizing figure in the history of the National Football League. Obviously, because of his personality, a lot of people deem him as arrogant. Just really outlandish, very outgoing. Just controversial celebrations with the pom poms, the star on the Dallas Cowboys field in the middle on the 50-yard line. There's a lot of he's a very polarizing figure. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of people who took exception to him declining. I just wanted to step in and give my opinion because I just couldn't wait any much longer. Just to be real quick, is that I'm all for him skipping out on his own induction, because now a lot of people will disagree with me on that because they figure like, well, he's just being T.O.'s being Terrell, and just being selfish and self-centered, just only thinking about himself. But when you really think about it, at the end of the day, it really comes back to T.O. skipping out on this Hall of Fame induction. It really goes back to the biased nature of the voters for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'll explain. It was interesting because my father and I, we were just talking about this several months ago, right before they announced the inductees for this summer, and we were just debating because T.O. had already been snubbed twice of the Pro Football Hall of Fame for a guy who's actually, if you really look at the stats, he's top 8 all time in the 3 major receiving categories. He's eighth in receptions. He's second in yards, and he's third in receiving touchdowns. Even though I don't hold receiving touchdowns to the same esteem as catches and yards, and I'll explain that in the near future. But just nonetheless, just the nature of his production is just screams Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer. This guy has. I'm just looking at the stats real quick. As far as the receiving, the catches he has, he's 8th all time with 1,078. Of course, guys behind guys like Jerry Rice and a couple of tight ends, Jason Witten and Tony Gonzalez. Receiving yards, his receiving total is 2nd all time behind the great Jerry Rice with 15,934. And lastly, with the receiving touchdowns, he's 3rd behind Jerry Rice and Randy Moss with 153 receiving touchdowns, which is otherworldly. Otherworldly. That is otherworldly stuff. The next guy after him is Chris Carr with 130. So 23, that's a significant discrepancy for receiving touchdowns. Just for that, to get that type of scoring production, that is otherworldly. And like I said, I don't hold the receiving touchdowns to the same degree as the catches and yards, but having that high end dominance for just the go-to guy for a score, for a touchdown, a big play, that's just beyond human comprehension, in my opinion. So a guy, considering the fact that he has, this statistical accomplishment, not to mention that I think he is Terrell Owens to me is one of the guys who changed the game for the receiving position, as far as being one of the first big body receivers that I've ever seen. This the guy with the combination of size, strength, and the explosiveness to get down the field. Even though he wasn't as lightning fast as Randy Moss, which he was just just beyond measure. He was just his explosiveness was just undeniable. Just that rare combination that Terrell Owens possessed. You see a lot in today's game where there's the Calvin Johnson, even though he's retired, Megatron. You see it in Julio Jones. You see it in AJ Green. Peak Dez Bryant when he was at his best in like the mid 2010s, middle of this decade. Guys with that type of rare combination of size, strength, and speed, really putting it on display on Sunday after Sunday. Terrell Owens was really the first guy that I've seen like bring that to the NFL table for wide receivers. And when you consider what he did on the field, just like his stats in a vacuum, and what he brought to the receiving position, just from a different dynamic, physical wise, it was an utter crime. It was a travesty that he had to wait on his third ballot to get onto the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And a lot like going back to the opinions that I had that people have of him, just he's self-centered and he was he ruined teams and whatnot. He was all about himself. Well, teams don't get voted into the Hall of Fame. Only individuals do. And we talk about this was the greatest defense ever, or this was the greatest offensive team that we've ever seen in modern day NFL history. Whatever the superlative titles we give, for example, the 2013 Seattle Seahawks defense will not be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as an entire defensive unit. Now, you will see Richard Sherman in the Hall of Fame. You will see Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor. So you will see those guys individually make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They will, I believe strongly that those three guys will be in the canon at some point in time. But as far as like the whole unit, throwing Michael Bennett and all these other guys, Byron Maxwell, they're just not going to be there because individuals get voted to the Hall. And, it's just unfortunate that a guy, Terrell Owens, of his historical stature, had to wait his turn. It's just asinine. I remember something really rubbed me the wrong way a few years back. Skip Bayless said, as Skip Bayless, he never was the biggest Terrell Owens fan. He said a few years back that he would rather have Steve Smith in the Hall of Fame. He would put him in the Hall of Fame before Terrell Owens. While I have immense respect for Steve Smith, who I think is the most feistiest receiver I've ever seen in my lifetime, he is no Terrell Owens, not in the slightest. And obviously with the stats, there's a huge discrepancy there, but he's just not as accomplished in my opinion as he doesn't hold the same esteem for me as a Terrell Owens does, and that's a discussion for another day. But Skip Bayless and a few other guys, they just really take exception to him. They took exception to T.O. being in the Hall of Fame, which is really petty in my opinion, because if we're because a lot of people that we get personal in sports, we get personal like with the opinions, because if this guy rubbed me the wrong way, I didn't like this guy, I'm not going to vote him in the Hall of Fame, which is really unfair and is childish in my honest and humble opinion. Because despite your personal feelings about a certain athlete, you can't. His T.O.'s production was undeniable, and I don't care what anybody says, whoever comes to me about that. I'll give you a full disclosure. Just a really tidbit about me, real quick. Floyd Mayweather, as you know, great boxers of my lifetime, best one of my lifetime. I never was a huge fan of Floyd Mayweather. As a matter of fact, he's my least favorite athlete of all time. Just of his, his overwhelming arrogance, and just his background with domestic violence and of stuff of that nature. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but you get my point. But with that being said, however, when it comes to what he did in the boxing ring, that is undeniable. That is unquestionable. I can't question his greatness in the ring, and that's what we have to. We as fans, especially the voters, if you're going to vote somebody in, it's something of this magnitude of the Hall of Fame for any sport, you have to keep the bias out. Yes, you may have some guys that you favor, have some guys that you didn't favor. I think all of that's irrelevant at the end of the day, your personal opinion. But because at the end of the day, if they would, you can't deny what Terrell Owens did on the actual football field. And people say he wrecked teams. You know what else wrecked teams? GMs that make poor decisions. That's what really wrecks teams in the future. Like people look at what T.O. did in Dallas, Philly, a short period of time. The Cleveland Browns haven't been in the playoffs since 2002. That's just and they've had great players that they've drafted. Like contrary to popular belief, they've had some great players. They've had some great drafts. Probably not all at once, but just excuse me. Like when you look at Joe Thomas, I think he's the fourth, like the third greatest player in the history of the franchise. Just never missed a snap for like over 10 years. I can't deny his greatness. He's one of the like four greatest. Off the top of my head, he's probably like one of the four greatest left tackles in the history of the game. You have a guy like Joe Hayden who was hampered his career in Cleveland was truncated by injuries, but when he was physically on his game, he was one of the best cornerbacks in the sport. They've had Alex Mack. I don't remember if he was drafted. I don't know off the top of my head, but I knew he spent time in Cleveland as well. I think so. They've had some quality players, but they just could never get the quarterback right, and that's where just poor decisions in draft, and the front office has been very underwhelming. Just to be polite. So that's what really wrecks teams if you don't, draft well and stuff. Another example is the Indianapolis Colts. I think the firing of Bill Polian was the reason why they're at their demise right now. Even though Andrew Luck's coming back, you wouldn't be in this position if you properly took care of your quarterback. Ryan Grigson skipped out on offensive linemen, on Alex Mack and Evan Mathis in back-to-back off seasons, and you wonder why you're struggling to keep them protected. And they've had, and we can go on, but that's what really wrecks teams. In a lot of people, the famous in Philadelphia, the Donovan McNabb and the T.O. dispute. At the end of the day, T.O. was a competitor, a fierce competitor. Coming back even though he missed the postseason, the 2004 postseason with the broken leg, if I remember correctly, the fact that he the fact that he was able to play in the Super Bowl, he made himself play in the Super Bowl and make big contributions. That just inspired me because that just just like this guy wants it. This guy is unbelievable. That he is as fierce as they come, and it's a shame that he had to wait this long because a guy of his historical measure that's a huge disservice, and that's why I completely support him because it shows the idiocy of and just how laughable the voters are. I just can't rock with it honestly. Because this guy was more than worthy. He should have been a no-brainer first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's no question about it. And it's like I just can't I just can't fathom why it would take somebody like this long to be where it is rightful home in football immortality. It shouldn't have taken this long at all. But it just shows like this is a bias of the voters, and I'm just glad he stood his ground because like I said, it was funny. My father and I we were just talking about this several months ago. He called it. He said I think he's going to just skip out on it, and and he did. So, but yeah, it's I'm just glad. I'm glad he's finally in the Hall of Fame, but it shouldn't have taken this long. Period. So that's all I wanted to say real quick. I went on. It looked like I've been on here for 14 minutes or something like that, but I didn't expect to be on here that long. But I had to get this out. So I just want to thank you guys so much again for tuning in. I'm still going to take this time out just to perfect my craft and build my brand further. And I'm excited. I'm really eager about what's to come. So just hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell whenever I post because I'm going to be posting a lot in the coming weeks and the coming months and years, of course. So just follow me on Twitter, on social media, WCotchery2. That's WCOTCHERY. WCOTCHERY2. WCotchery2. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Find me on Facebook. do whatever. Snapchat as well. So I'm really getting back on my grind. So, if you have any thoughts about my opinion on Terrell Owens, so you're more than welcome to comment down below. So, and I'll see you there. See you later. Bye-bye.